So the book of Daniel in various places um, talks about four kingdoms, four great empires. Babylon first, Persia or the Medo-Persian Empire second, Greece third, and Rome fourth. And Rome, of course, is said to be the biggest, the strongest one of them. So if you look at the imperialism in, let's say, global imperialism, talking about empires which stretched between Europe and Asia, Persia was the first, and they conquered Babylon. And then eventually the Greeks, Alexander the Great, defeated them. And then eventually the Romans defeated the Greeks. The thing about the Greeks, though, is that they had split up into quite a number of empires, especially in Egypt and in Syria. So eventually the Romans took control of the world that the Greeks had created. And the primary enemy of Rome became the Persians. They were called the Sassanids, but they were Persian people, or Aryans actually, is what they called their race. Persia was just one of the Aryan races that Cyrus grew into a major empire. So in the 4th century, under Emperor Constantine, Rome adopted Christianity as its power, and they Christianized the Roman Empire, while the Sassanids, or the Persians, their primary enemy, they eventually took on Islam, which was an imitation religion of Judaism or Christianity. So if you look at it from that perspective, I mean, there's 2.6 billion Christians today and about 2.2 or 2.4 billion Muslims. So these empires are really empires of religion. So the West is an empire of Christianity, and the call it the East is the empire of Islam. So when I say Romans versus Christians, I'm talking about the Roman world, which is the Christian world, and Romans versus Persians. So the Persians are the Islamic world. So the Germanic people eventually, by the end of the 6th century, they had taken over Rome completely, but they were also Christians. Whereas, Rome had split into two empires because it was too big. So in the west, Rome was the capital, and in the east, the Eastern Empire was at Byzantium, which is where Istanbul is now. It was called Constantinople. So eventually the Ottoman Empire, who were Muslims, they eventually took Constantinople. It was almost 1,000 years that it stood as an empire. And today it's called Istanbul. So this war that's going on now is a war that's been going on for thousands of years, nearly, say, about 1,700 years, between the Christian Empire and the Islamic Empire. And of course, the Christian Empire is seated in America. They are the empire built on Christianity, and of course, England. They're the two major Christian empires. But the Islamic religion is not centralized. So there's no like a pope or a church or something that everybody follows. But the people who have made themselves the head of a type of Islamism, with hatred towards Israelis, hatred towards Jews, hatred towards America, and so on, is the theocratic Iranian governments who are very much hard set against Israel. So the primary Islamic enemy, the strongest Islamic enemy against the Christian world is Iran. And Iran, remember, they are Persians. It's actually Persia that's just called Iran today. So the war is actually between Christian and Muslim, but in terms of ancient empires, the war is actually between Rome and Persia, or in modern sense, America and Iran. And I mean, it makes sense because these Muslim people, they I mean, the Quran, after a while, it starts to get to a point where it becomes very anti Semitic and anti Christian, even getting to a point of saying that Allah hated them, the Jews and Christians, so much that he turned them into apes and into pigs. So, Muslim people are indoctrinated from birth to hate Israelis, to hate Jews for no reason whatsoever, just because it's their religion. And I mean, you can imagine if you've got these surrounded by billions of people who just for no reason at all hate you and think that you must die. I mean, what's going to happen? Obviously, the Israelis are going to get to a point where they say, look, either you kill us or we kill you. So it's gotten to that point where the Israelis have decided, okay, we're going to just take on the Islamic world and wipe out this faction of Islam that's very powerful and believes that Israel must be annihilated. So, so they created this false attack on Israel. It was just a false flag. It's not really Hamas. The Israelis knew it was going to happen and they let it happen so that they could go and start this horrible war. So they start with the Palestinians, and then from there we'll see But I think the end game is that they want to destroy Iran. And then, of course, Syria is where ISIS is, and Lebanon is where Hezbollah is, which is the most powerful militant force of anti Semitism. So Israel's intention is to go after those three countries, probably. But if they do, remember, Iran has nuclear weapons, so and it's so hard to believe that Jerusalem, which is like the most important city in the world, the ancient city, it's the base of Christianity. It's where Jesus was, and you know all of that. It's really impossible to believe that that city could get nuked, but it could happen. And if it does happen, it would cause quite a shock in the world. So yeah, so we'll see.